This is the Living in Mid-Bloom podcast, lighthearted and heartfelt conversations about what it looks like to live, heal, and blossom in middle age. I'm your host, April Pruitt. Let's get our bloom on. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. I hope you're having a productive week and that you've been good to yourself. And maybe throw a little gratitude in the air. I know that always helps me. Now, before we get into this episode, I want to mention something. I'm starting to get into the voice acting business. So, what does that actually mean? Voice acting is the art of performing a character or providing narration or information to an audience for a commercial, for a book. So I could use my voice in, many different ways. So it could be a narration for meditations. Place yourself in a comfortable position on the floor with your legs crossed. Close your eyes. Release your thoughts and let the world dissipate around you. Narrating a book, Holly Bunny was having a great day. I'm meeting my best friend Lulu, she said to herself. We haven't seen each other in such a long time. Or being a character, a video game. I told him time and time again that this is not how we are doing this. So that's what I'm kind of into now. If you look out on the podcast platform, you'll see my email address where you can email me directly. And the email address is prucheek, Prucheek, at sbcglobal.net. Again, that's prucheek, Prucheek, at sbcglobal.net. Thank you so much. Okay, great. So let us get into this episode as I continue to share the bizarre things that I have done in the past. And I shouldn't say bizarre because I wasn't the only one out there. I'm talking about dating. I'm talking about using ye old newspaper back in the day because this was in the 90s. So there were some, I think, online, maybe Jewish singles, because I think a friend of mine was using that. But anyway, these are like the early stages. So I might have talked about this briefly before, but I had been always struggling with depression, just in a cloud. And for the second time, my therapist had mentioned that I tried medication, just try it again, a different medication. So set up a meeting with a psychiatrist because that's the only person other than my doctor that can actually prescribe medication for me. So he did that and we met a couple of times and I felt a lot better. It felt like a weight was lifted off of me. I just felt like myself. And feeling more myself, I'm thinking that I want to do things to help improve how I'm feeling. So I decided that I'm going to join a gym and I'm going to start working out. Now, most of my life, I've been a little overweight, sometimes more than others. But I was just feeling good. And usually I would find myself like going for a few times and then kind of fizzle out. But I stuck with it. And I really think that medication really made a difference. And I was continuing my therapy, of course. So I'm a regular at this place. I'm trying to remember some of the workouts, but they made it fun. It was energetic. And I was steadily losing weight. And I got to a point where I was thinking about becoming someone that was certified to actually give classes. I mean, that's how good a shape I was in. So as I'm feeling good, I'm thinking, boy, it'd be nice to have somebody in my life. And let me tell you, I'm all in my head. I am all caught up in how I look because I never had that before. It was other people or friends or family that always looked great. There was no expectation of April being in shape. I had no expectation of that. So I got in my head and I was just like, I'm fabulous. And of course, all of this is external, all external. So I decided I'm going to play some ads. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to put myself out there. I don't even remember how to do that. And I don't even know if people do it now because I know everything is online. There are a million things out there online. So I don't know if some of you remember like the abbreviations that were used. So for me, SBF, single black female, was the one that I used. And there are tons of others out there. There's MWM, married white male. Yeah, that stuff was going on. Or DBF, divorced black female. GSOH, good sense of humor, and the list goes on. So I don't remember all the details of the ad that I had, but I did have single black female in search of single male. I'm sure I had like sense of humor, liked movies, blah, blah, blah. And then I added like clipped nose hairs, a plus, to show my sense of humor. And I also looked at ads too. For the most part, I didn't answer. Some I did, and that's a whole nother story. I know a couple of friends of mine are like, how come you're not dead? It's like you met strangers. I did. I met strangers. And I look back and think, boy, I was lucky. I was lucky. Also, no, this is all external. I'm not thinking clearly. I'm all caught up in me. And so if I think about all the dates I had, because I had like over a little over 20, okay, I had 18 first dates. So think about that. 18 first dates means either I didn't like them, they didn't like me. And I would tell you, I know I was on bad behavior. I just cringe when I think of the way I acted in some cases because it was clear that all I cared about was, do you look good? I know I look good. What do we want to do so people can see that we look good? I mean, this is ridiculous. I did go on 3 second dates. One guy stopped seeing me. I mean, I give him credit, he was straightforward. He called me and he said, well, I'm used to dating engineers and you're not an engineer. And I said, well, I'm in the financial field. I mean, it's a legitimate, but yeah, but engineers think differently. So anyway, so that ended. And then there was one guy that I dated 4 times. I really liked him, but I ended up moving to St. Louis. I had, because of the medication, and I had improved so much despite the ridiculousness with the dating. But I was able to get a job moving back to St. Louis, a really good job. So I was grateful for that aspect of it. So again, when I look at that time and I think, yeah, I can laugh at a lot of things and be grateful that I didn't get hurt and there wasn't a nut job in the mix of all of that. I mean, I remember I was downtown DC and I was meeting a guy at this little restaurant. Now, when I was going in, I saw a guy standing out and I thought, I wonder if that's him. And he's trying to make a decision if he's going in. So I'm there for about 30 minutes. I leave and I see the guy's gone. I was like, well, excuse me, you rejected me? So anyway, a lot of ridiculousness. But now I have to look back at all of this and know as I'm getting healthier, clearly I'm having some serious issues with how I look at myself and how I value myself. So, if we look at the medication, no doubt that improved my mental health. I was staying in therapy, trying medication that this time really, really helped me and lifted me so that I could accomplish some things that I couldn't before. So having that boost in my, overall well-being was important and contributed to some great decisions I made, especially about the job. Then this also leads to better self-care. I'm feeling better mentally about myself. And so then, as I have been taking better care of myself physically, and I think about everything else, hair, bathing, all of these things that had fallen by the wayside, frankly, when I was still struggling. So having the wherewithal to be able to want to do that really, really elevated me emotionally. And in that aspect, being aware and enjoying my appearance and my physical health. That was huge. That was huge. But again, it's still a little rocky, still working on it. And I know that, placing the single ads, and I know that that was a way of looking for validation. It's like all of these people confirm that I'm an okay human being, that I'm somebody that maybe somebody wants to spend time with, or someone that wants me. That was important to me. When I think about, the depression, and I think about the sexual abuse, I think there was always a part of me that was kind of part of the sexual abuse aspect, I guess, just trying to put the words together of the physical attraction. Now, no, I wasn't trying to attract the abuser, but clearly the abuser, and I know it was power. I know the issue is power control, but there was also a part of me that wrestled with the whole sexual being attractive thing. As much as I felt like I wanted that, there was a part of me that wasn't really clear about that. And I still, underneath all of that, feelings of worthlessness. I think I didn't pay attention to the fact that I went on 18 first dates because I wasn't looking for a relationship in any way, shape, or form. I was looking for validation and I kept getting it. And, nobody denied I was great looking, but that's as far as it went. And frankly, I think that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted at that time. I couldn't do anything else. I wasn't prepared to have a relationship or even date. It's just interesting how I can look back at that and really see what a position I was in. And the really good thing about all of this is because I moved back to St. Louis, I was able to, after several years, work out my issues because that's where my abuser lived. I didn't realize then because then I was still unconscious about the sexual abuse. Moving back here to St. Louis and being in the realm of that person gave me the opportunity to work through things because I did get together with another therapist, and through other therapists that I finally figured some things out. So I tell you, life is complicated. All the external validation that I wanted, and what I needed was the internal healing, the deeper emotional pain. And I don't think I was prepared for that. And that's why I kept it light. I wasn't actively saying to myself, oh, I'm only prepared for superficial relationships. No, it was my mind keeping myself busy to avoid anything ugly or anything that needed to be looked at more closely. I was not prepared for that. And so that wasn't going to happen. That wasn't going to happen. I'm grateful that if this all led me to a better job that happened to be in St. Louis, because I can't imagine I could ever figure that out without that. And of course, the biggest issue, is my lack of self-awareness during this time. Totally. I'm making all this progress in my mental health, in my physical health. I was still feeling a little lost. And again, back in St. Louis, working on more, mental health issues, I started gaining weight back. Now, part of it may have been, a new job. I'm back home. And then a couple of months later, I lost my dad. So there was a lot of stress on me, and food was kind of my natural go to. Before I left, what was my go to was feeding off the validation I got from all of these men. So that helped me keep the weight off because I wasn't stuffing myself with food. I was stuffing myself with external validation. That's what was happening. So the lack of awareness, I'm thinking that was needed at the time. I was no way prepared to understand the truth of what happened to me or what I was doing. So all of that, it didn't provide introspection, and there was no self discovery of my inner soul going through that. But I was able to finally get to that point and understand what the real validation was I needed. And that was self love. And that was being curious and looking at all of the things in my life and start questioning things, start actively questioning things. So while there was still a lack of self esteem going through all this dating, there was still that external validation. So it's all complicated, I tell you, but it feels good for me to talk about this because I've never really sat down with anybody and talked about it. But my dear listeners here, I hope that everything I share is something that you can get out of it, that we can go through so much or be totally unaware of so many things. But we keep looking at it, we keep being curious, we keep remembering the value we have, that there's nobody else that's like you except you, and know that that is true. And I'm finding that out more and more. I'm feeling so more like I'm standing in my grace, and keep reminding myself of that, and being grateful that I'm able to do this work for myself and to share it. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone out there who is just trying to do the best they can, because that's all we can do. That's all we can do is keep on going, keep on moving, being grateful, having loving people in your life, holding each other up. We don't do enough of that. We do not do enough of that for ourselves. So thank you, everyone. Sending you blessings, and have a beautiful day. Thank you for listening to Black Woman Searching Part 1. Please stick around. Next week, we will have Part 2. Thank you for joining me today on Living in Midbloom. I hope you found this episode insightful, meaningful, and maybe it's given you something to think about. I invite you to share your positive reviews or ideas on topics you would like me to touch on by leaving your comments on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, Podchaser, or Podcast Addict. We are all divine beings who just want to be seen, heard, and loved. Have a beautiful day.